This video is brought to you by Brilliant. Back in 2020, Jeremy Corbyn was suspended from Labour, a party he joined more than half a century ago, due to his reaction to a report that concluded that Labour were responsible for unlawful harassment and discrimination during his leadership of the party. Specifically, Corbyn claimed that the scale of anti-Semitism within Labour had been overstated for political reasons. As such, ever since, the former Labour leader has sat on the green benches as an independent MP, meaning he has no links to or support from his former party. This is why in the general election that was held this year, Corbyn had to stand in his Islington North constituency as an independent. In fact, Labour opted to field a candidate against him, Praful Nargund, and many MRP polls in the run-up to the election actually predicted that Nargund would beat him. This didn't happen though, and Corbyn was re-elected with a majority of 7,247 votes, which, whilst reduced from his 26,188 vote majority in 2019, is still very respectable. So as things stand, Corbyn is still in Parliament and still sits as an independent. He's not alone in this though, as there are now 4 other like-minded independent MPs also in Parliament right now, and there are some reports that together they might be on the verge of forming a new political party. So in this video we're going to have a look into this report, looking specifically whether it's valid, what the benefits of forming such a party would be for the aforementioned MPs, and what it would mean for them going forward. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. Now, it's worth starting this video by explaining exactly what's been suggested. In an article published on the 9th of August, BBC political reporter Sam Francis claimed that Jeremy Corbyn was in talks with 4 other independent MPs to form a new group. Now, while the word party is not mentioned in the article, it's hard to see what they want to form as anything but. Francis claims that one of the MPs, reportedly in discussions with Corbyn, claimed that they were looking at options that would give us more access to the levers of power. Francis also claims that, were a group formed, this would increase the chances of the individual MPs taking part in debates and committees. All of this coordination would certainly suggest that what these independent MPs are angling for resembles that of a political party, even if they, or the BBC reporter, are reluctant to use the word. As such, for the rest of this video, we're going to use the word party rather than group. Anyway, now that that's sorted, let's go through exactly who's reportedly in talks to join Corbyn's potential new party. Now, there are technically 13 independent MPs in the Commons, but not all of them are exactly suitable to join the potential new party. Obviously, one of them is Corbyn himself. Then there's Alex Easton, who is a Northern Irish MP who previously stood as a DUP candidate and was backed by both Traditional Unionist Voice and Reform UK in the 2024 general election. It's unlikely then that his views would align with that of Corbyn. Then there are the 7 MPs who were elected as Labour MPs, but were suspended after they opted to back an SNP amendment to the King's Speech that called for the 2-child benefit cap to be ended. Now, while many of these have been Corbyn allies in the past, they know that they will likely be admitted back into the party in 6 months' time, so are therefore very unlikely to jump ship. This then leaves only 4 other independent MPs. Sokha Adam, who dramatically unseated Labour's shadow paymaster general, Ayub Khan, who unseated Labour MP Khalid Mahmood, Adnan Hussain, who unseated Labour MP Kate Holland, and Iqbal Mohammed, who unexpectedly defeated the Labour candidate in a newly created constituency. So it's clear that as all of these MPs either defeated the incumbent Labour candidate or were in an area that Labour were expected to win, they probably share similar left-wing values. If though we look even more closely at the constituencies they won, their ideological similarities become even clearer. With the exception of Jeremy Corbyn, all of these candidates won in constituencies that had significant Muslim populations, with the proportion ranging between roughly 1/3 and 1/2 of voters. It's also clear that each of these candidates have voiced their support for Palestine. Upon defeating Ashworth, Sokha Adam proclaimed "This is for Gaza." Corbyn has been staunchly pro-Palestine throughout his political career. Ayub Khan previously left the Liberal Democrats, claiming that they asked him to hush up his concerns over the Gaza war. Adnan Hussein stated that if elected, he would speak out against the injustice being inflicted against the people of Gaza. And finally, Iqbal Mohammed focused his general election campaign on calling for a ceasefire and a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict. The point we're making here is that these MPs share a left-wing ideological outlook and have a track record of being outspoken in favour of Palestine. There is then a good case to be made that each of these MPs are like-minded enough for a party to be formed that's ideologically consistent. And to be fair, there probably is space in the House of Commons for this right now. Writing for Unheard, Richard Johnson points out that there are basically three groups that feel neglected by Labour: affluent urban radicals, older conservative working class voters, and Muslim working class voters. The first group is pretty well represented by the Green Party. The second group is pretty well represented by Reform UK. The last, however, isn't really represented by a political party at all. Perhaps then this is where Corbyn's new party steps in. Being to the left of Labour and being able to criticise it on its stance on the Israel-Gaza war would certainly put it in a relatively unique position within the Parliament, and may be able to cause some problems for the Labour leadership from time to time. To be fair, there's already some evidence of this, with this grouping of independents having already worked with the Green Party to table a series of amendments to the King's Speech. It's worth mentioning, though, that were such a party to be created, their influence would be relatively limited. Sure, on occasion they could attempt to pressure the Starmer government, but with such a large majority, they'd be unlikely to be successful, even when they coordinate with the Greens. But even then, this would be difficult, as even if the party was formed, they'd be severely lacking funding. Usually, opposition parties are entitled to funding known as short money. However, as the party would have been formed after the election, it just wouldn't be entitled to this, making their parliamentary activities just that bit harder. There's a lot of difficult decisions to make here, and making huge decisions is difficult, even for world leaders. The good thing is that Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data, programming, and AI. Their interactive classes help build your critical thinking skills through problem solving, not memorizing. So while you're building real knowledge on specific topics, you'll also be becoming a better thinker. For instance, their Predicting with Probability course can help you better understand and assess the world around you. You can learn to wrangle massive datasets, compare distributions, and master fundamental concepts like Bayes' theorem. That might sound a little technical, but with their active learning, you learn this by answering questions like which airline is least likely to have a delay due to weather, and how much more unruly airline passengers have gotten since the pandemic. Data skills are absolutely necessary for navigating the modern world, and Brilliant is the best way to get them. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/TLDR, or click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.